we will try to go as slow as needed for you to be able to do the same project on your computer. So my goal is that at the end of this training, you know how to build complex applications using this. Again, all of the design goals for these tools are for non-tech people to be able to build their own things. So this is not a technical software that requires IT background. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to be an IT specialist. We have tried as hard as possible to have this be a simple software that anybody with some computer knowledge can set up and build their own projects on their own. Okay, so go to verboice.instead.org. That's the server online. Okay, so once you're here, you should see, let me log out, so you see the same as I'm seeing. You should see a create account here. So go and click create an account, enter your email and password, and then sign up. That will send you an email to your account. So go after entering your email and passwords, go to your account and click on the email confirmation. All right, so click on projects. You're going to see an empty screen. This is an account that has already projects, but you should not see a list unless you have created projects before. So let's create a new project. Click on the create project link, and let's just enter a name here. We can pretend we're going to create a system for ordering food. So let's call it order food. Then there's a time zone here. The time zone is for simplifying the management of the dates and times that you will see across the system. So if you're working in a specific country and it's not an international system that you need to run in different time zones, it's better to select the specific time zone of the country you're using. So we can select Rome here, and here it is. Okay, good. All right. There's a default language selection as well. We will keep it in English, but you can add additional languages. So we're going to cover that on the advanced training. For now, we will only use a single language for the project that we're building. So click on save at the end of the page. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the relationship between projects, call flows, and the Phonebook. So when you create an account in Verboice, you can create multiple projects. Each project is an independent group of things. Okay, so for each separate thing that you want to do, you will create a project. Okay, if you're working on different programs in different countries, you want one project for each program. Inside a project, you can have multiple call flows. The call flow is the set of actual steps that somebody that's calling your phone number or that you're calling from will go through. So one call flow is one set of steps that a person on the phone will go through. The phone book is the list of people that are participating inside those call flows. So that's the list of phone numbers that you have on your system. You can have multiple call flows that work with the same phone book. Inside the project, you have your phone book and you have multiple call flows. Does that make sense so far? If you have separate projects, the projects do not share the phone book. So if you have one phone number in a phone book in a project and you have another project, those phone numbers will not be there. Okay. You would have to repeat it again, but the phone book, if you want to call everybody on your phone book, for example, you can reuse that phone book, that list of phone numbers for the same call flows. Yes, here. So if you have 3 call flows, you will be able to call everybody on your phone book with each of these call flows. But if you create another project, you will not have the same phone numbers. So you can export them and import them again, but those phonebooks do not share information. Okay. We will also see that inside the record in a phone book for each phone number, you can store additional information, like, I don't know, the state where that person lives or the number of children they have. And that information is contained inside the project, so there's no sharing of information across projects. Okay. So for every program, every contained initiative that you will have one project. And then there's the channels. You can think of the channels as the means by which you call or receive calls from somebody. It's the actual phone number that makes the phone calls to the users. Okay. Sometimes it's an online service that is connected, like a Skype account, for example. Right. So you can connect a Skype account to Verboice, and you will make and receive phone calls through that Skype account. Other times it's an actual modem, which is a machine that allows you to put a SIM card inside and make phone calls. Okay. So those are channels. You can mix channels and projects in different ways. You can share a single phone number, a single channel across multiple projects. So that's why this is at the same level of projects. So that way you can have a single phone number and run different projects. We will see later how to choose, how to use a channel between different projects. So let's click on add a call flow. We will create the first call flow here. And let's give it a name. We can call it food menu. You will see that there's two options here. There's use an external application and design your app in Verboice. As I mentioned before, we want, when we designed this tool, we wanted people to be able to do it on their own inside the web page. That's why you can select this, design your app in Verboice. The other option is for software developers, for programmers. So if you have a programmer in your team and you want to start doing more complicated things that you cannot do through the web interface, you can also select the other option and allow somebody that knows how to program to use Verboice to trigger phone calls and integrate with existing tools. So if you have an in-house tool that you develop for, like, I don't know, storing databases or managing data or something, and you want to integrate with that, Verboice is pretty open in ways that developers can connect and extract information and integrate with third-party systems. Okay. All right, so click on save, and now let's click on go to designer. You should be in this screen. If you're not in the screen, raise your hand so Santiago can help you get here. So there's a blank space here. This is a canvas where we will be designing our application, and a call flow inside Verboice is made up out of different steps. So that's our toolbox here. Sorry. This is a list of things, of components that we will use to build our application. You can think of this as a Lego that allows you to connect different boxes. Each box will do something, and you will connect and draw arrows between them to guide the user through different steps. Okay? So let's start by clicking on play. This is the easiest step on Verboice. It's basically a message that the user that's calling will receive. Okay. So every step can have a name. You will see that when you click on a step and it adds the little box here, you get a default name. If you're only building something that has 3 or 4 steps or 10 steps, then you can leave that name as it is, and you will probably remember what's going on there. When your flow grows and you have, like, I don't know, we've had projects where users have created flows with like 300 different steps, it's usually a good thing to start giving these names. So this is a welcome, this is a goodbye, this is how are you doing, this is thanks for calling. You try to give that a little name, so when you want to change something or you want to understand what something is, you can find it easy in the screen. Okay. So we will name this hello. That's just something for you. So it could be in your own language. The user will not see that. That's something completely internal. It's for your own reference, okay? So you can put there whatever makes sense for you. Some users even add like a little code or a number or something to help them connect this with a documentation or a designing paper. And then we have the message that we want to add. Verboice highlights everything in orange that it's needing your attention, okay? So when you create something new and it doesn't have a message inside, you will see it as in orange. This means that there's something that is not there yet. You need to enter some information, okay? So if you click in this arrow here, you will see two options. You can create a new message, or you can select an existing one, okay? So this is the actual thing that Verboice will tell the person when it calls. We don't have any message yet, so we will create a new one. We will name it also hello, and we will click on next. Okay. So in that little screen, we're creating our first message. There are a number of options on how to add a message here. Text-to-speech means we type something and it's read by one of those robot voices. You probably heard those machines, like your GPS. So it's a very quick way to create a call flow and test it, particularly in English. Text-to-speech is not available in most of the languages that you will need to use, so it's only good for like prototyping something quickly in your office in English or Spanish or French, or I don't know, I think German is another option. So that's handy for doing something quickly. You type the message and you will hear it on the phone, so you don't need to start recording anything. But you can also expand this and you will see that there's an option that says record a message. So this is the second most easy way of adding a message. You can click on record there and you record an audio file, and then that's what the person is going to hear. So you can use this for any language because you can say whatever you want there. It's usually a good practice also to write a little verbal description of the message, not just a name, but if it says hello, how are you, thanks for calling, and you're recording the audio, we usually recommend to type the whole thing so you don't have to hear it to know what the content was. Okay, so you can write as a comment, yeah. So you would type the whole thing. If you speak the language of the audio file, then you type it in that language. If you don't speak the language of the audio file, you can type it in whatever language you're familiar with. Okay. Then there's a third option that it's upload a file. I don't know exactly what Lucia is going to teach you, but when you get a little bit more professional in terms of recording this and you go to a recording studio or you have a nice microphone and you use a more specialized Windows application to record audio files, you will fine-tune the sound, equalize, cut the ends and beginnings, and I don't know, remove the noise. So you will have an audio file that you want to upload from your computer. So you would go to this other option and upload your own audio file. The fourth option is online resource. I'm not sure you will use this. You have the files already in a server somewhere and you want to just point there. This is usually something that happens when you're using another application, so if somebody sent you the files and put them in a Dropbox public folder, you can just type the URL there and Verboice will grab it from there. It's also sometimes useful to do that when you have an external user that wants to replace the audio files and they don't have access to Verboice, so you can just tell them to put it here in a server somewhere and they can just record the audio files. Some users have used this option, for example, with like the daily news or like the weather or something that changes every time. So you just put a URL there and somebody can update that. You don't need to touch Verboice, and every time Verboice makes a phone call or somebody calls to Verboice, the audio file will change. Okay. Questions so far?
Can you also share the file with different projects?
Yes, not across different projects. Inside the same project, the different call flows. So once you have one message created here, even if you use online resource, text-to-speech, or you recorded the file here, you will be able to reuse the same message. So for example, if you recorded a hello, how are you, you don't need to record it for every call flow. You can use the same one there, okay? That's another thing that is shared across one project, many call flows. So you cannot reuse messages through projects, okay? If you go to another project, you will have to record again the hello, how are you? You can use it, if you have a file in your computer, you can upload the same file. But it's usually, if you have a lot of messages that you need to reuse, that's usually a good indication that it might be the same project, right? So maybe, I don't know. Yeah, you can point to the same thing, but you will have to go here again, give it a name, select the URL, etc. Okay. If you're in the same project across different call flows, you will just be able to select the hello message and it'll have everything that you do. So let's give this a try. Sometimes when you click on here, there's exactly that. You will see this thing asking Windows to give permission to Verboice to use your microphone. You don't want web pages to be able to listen to what you're talking usually, so that's why they have this thing to authorize Verboice to access your microphone, okay? So you should check whatever language you have, the green thing, accept, consent, authorize. So, yes, and I think that you might check the recording, the remember. Let's record, hello, thank you for calling. Hello, thank you for calling. Okay, so we can save this, and that's our hello message, okay. If I was in another call flow and I created a new play, when I go here to the message, don't do this, I'm going to delete this. And you create, and you check select an existing one, you can type the hello there, and you already have this message, you don't need to record it again, okay. So this is a first step. Everybody has this created. Do you want to click on record and make sure that you can record on your computer so we get past that? All right. So you will see there's two plus signs every time you select a step. The little plus sign on the left is to add a step before this. So if we wanted to add something before this step, we can click on that. The other one is to add a step after this. So let's click on the add new step. You will see that the options to add additional steps are shown there. Okay. And we will go with the menu now. So click on the menu. Alright, so the next step is the menu. You're probably all familiar with this one. This is a typical, if you want to do this, press 1. If you want to do that, press 2. If you want to do that, press 3. This one is a little bit more complex than the play. There's several components, several pieces of the message here. The first one is the explanation. The explanation is the message that you will play at the beginning of the menu option, explaining what is it that you will tell somebody to do. So for example, you will listen to a couple options about the food that we have available. Please select the option that you'd like to order, for example, okay? Then the options are the actual options. It's the list of press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for that. The invalid message is the message that will be played to the user if they selected an invalid option, okay? So that's what they will hear if they press 5, and you will set you will record something like, that's not a valid option, please try again, or something like that, okay? And then you have a few options here on how you want to work with those messages. So we have the number of seconds before repeating options. So if the user doesn't do anything after you went through the options, message, they will repeat back again after 5 seconds. Okay, you can change that. And then there's a number of attempts that Verboice will try to go through with the user to capture that. If the user enters number 5 and number 5 is not an option 3 times, then that's it. It fails after that. And then you can decide what you want to do after those 3 attempts. Okay. There's 2 different things that would go through those attempts. One is the caller doesn't do anything. Okay, so I listen to the options, I don't do anything. That counts as one attempt after the 5 seconds. Or I entered a wrong number. That's another attempt as well. Okay, so depending on the situation and I don't know the type of users that you're calling, you might want to increase that time and allow them, if they have to go and check something or they're reading an instruction page with the options or something complicated, you might want to increase the amount of seconds that you wait until considering that a failed option. You're probably familiar with the situation that you call a phone number and they ask you for your credit card number, and you have to like start going and get your wallet or run to the other room until you find it, and by the time you start entering, it already failed and it's telling you that was not a valid number. So that's something to think about. The explanation is only played once. Okay, this is not repeated, so you don't have to listen to the whole thing again after it failed. So Verboice will play the explanation, then go to the options, and then repeat the options 3 times for every attempt that failed, but will not repeat the explanation. So you have to think about how you split the message there. The only required field, as you can see from the orange, is the options. So you can just record that if you want and say, press 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for that, without an explanation message in the beginning. So let's create a new message here. We'll give it, I don't know, food available. And we will use the text-to-speech. We can write something like, we have several options for food. Please indicate what you want to order. Or something like that. So let's give the message. Sorry, I clicked on options, not sure if you saw. So click on the options arrow here, on the arrow next to the options, the orange. And let's give this a name like chicken or pasta. And we can write something like press 1 for chicken, press 2 for pasta. Okay, and finally, let's enter a message for the invalid, and let's call it wrong food option. Okay. And we can write something like, sorry, that option is not available. Please try again. So far those are just messages that we're playing for the user. Okay, the numbers that we said, the press 1 for this, press 2 for that, are just the text there or an audio file that are recorded. So now we have to create those actual options inside the menu. And to do that, you see that there's an options section here. Okay, so we have to decide what is it that we want to do if the user presses 1 or if they press 2. Usually it's another message, so the default will be play. So we will just click on the plus sign here once and twice. So here's where it starts getting fun. You will see here that there's like 2 different paths now that you see on the diagram. Okay, there's the first one, which is option 1, and the second one, which is option 2. Here's where it starts making sense to give things a name to get a more clear picture of what's going on. So if we go to the message, and probably we already forgot if 1 was for chicken or for pasta, we can go here and say, okay, so 1 was chicken, 2 was pasta. So let's go to the first one, that was number 1, and let's put a 1 here, dash chicken, and then the other one is 2 pasta. Okay. It's good to click on the save there from time to time. So if your computer crashes or your internet disconnects, you don't lose hours of work. So click on the save just in case. So now we have our 2 options here. You will see that depending on the box that you have selected, this looks a little bit different. If I select menu, I can see that the add new step here is after the options have already merged, right? Okay. So if regardless of what the user selected, after I play the message, I want to just continue on the same path, I will select the menu option and add a step after that, okay? If I want to stay on this track and I want to do several things after the user selected 1 for chicken or 2 for pasta, then I will select this step, okay? And if I add another message here, this is only going to be played inside the 1, okay? So I sort of, so I sort of like split the path there, and I can continue branching for as long as I want. Whenever I want to go back to merge all of the options again in a single thing, I will select again the menu and add a new step there. Okay, so the arrows should give you an idea of what's going on. You see this little line here because in the option for what happens after the final attempt fails, the default is to skip. Okay, so that means that if the user doesn't manage to enter any option, we will just skip to the next step. Okay, so that's the path there that goes through without anything. So let's change that and let's add a play option. Okay, you will see that it appears as another path here. So let's name that one. Click on that. And let's name it no selection. Okay. So in the message for this, we can give it a name and call it no selection. Okay. And we can write something like we didn't get your meal selection. Sorry about that. Something like that. Okay. So we are not going to add a message for each of those right now, so we don't spend so much time. But it's the same as we did for the hello. You go inside, you can add something like, I don't know, thanks for choosing chicken. That's great, or this can get as complicated as you want. You can start making one menu inside another. So for example, let's select pasta here. Let's click on add new step and choose menu again. Okay. And in menu you will, let's add options here for, it's called, I don't know, sauce, for example, right? And we can write something like press 1 for tomato, press 2 for pesto. I'm happy that I had a good breakfast, because otherwise I would be getting hungry.
It's a very good example, though. I really like it. I'm gonna use it again.
Okay, so we can name this menu salsa choice or something like that. Sauce choice. Okay. And then again, we need to add the actual options here. So let's press 1 and 2. Oh, sorry. 1 and 2 here. Okay, so these are our two choices for, this is the tomato, and we can keep using the convention with the numbers there. And 2 pesto. Okay. So you will see that these arrows start to be useful, the lines connecting. When you click, for example, the menu here, this is what I was saying before. If I want to add a step after the whole thing, so regardless if I choose chicken, pasta, or pasta with tomato, pasta with pesto, I want to continue in the same place, I will select the menu here and press the next step there. If I want to add an option for additional pasta choices, regardless of the sauce that I chose, I will choose the sauce choice and add the step here, okay? If I click on here, this option is going to only be available for pasta choices, not for chicken. Okay. So let's go back to the menu, to the original menu, the first one. So we will group everything, regardless of what the person ordered, chicken, pasta, tomato, pesto, we will go to the same option. So let's click on Add New Step here. And we will go to the third option for types of steps. So let's click on Input. Okay. Input is just capturing a number from the keypad. So this doesn't do anything differently like the menu does. In the menu, we want the user to have a different experience based on what they selected. So if they type 1, I want to say something different than if they press 2. In input, we just want to capture information. So the input step is good when you want to record a number or an option, but you don't want to do anything with that at that particular time. Okay, so you can see that the flow will just continue after that. So we can use this as like number of people, for example. Okay, so let's go to instructions, and we can record something like number of meals or number of people. Okay, how many meals do you want to order? Okay. You have the same thing here as we had with the menu. There's the number of seconds to wait before repeating the options, and there's the number of attempts for that. So again, if the person doesn't type anything, he will hear again the instructions. If he types an invalid option, he will hear the invalid message if he recorded one. So what is it, an invalid option? So depending on what I want to capture, if I want to capture an age, for example, I'm asking the person for his age, I will write something like, I don't know, between 1 and 99, for example, or 120. If I want to capture something like, I don't know, meals a day you've been having, you will probably want to have something like between 1 and 10. If you want specific options like 2, 4, 6, or 8, you can type them here and say 2/4/6. Okay. If you want to use ranges, you can type them here, like, I don't know, 1 to 10, for example. Okay. This works exactly the same as when you print in your computer. When you have a long document and you want to print page 2, 3, 5, and 10 to 11, it's the same format. We did that on purpose because everybody's familiar with that. So you can write, for example, 1 to 10, and then Goma and 14, and those options will be the ones that are valid. 11 will not work, 12 will not work, 1 to 10 and 14 will work.
Do you have to put in the input length or something, or can you just put the valid values?
No,
you do 1 through 10 and then 14. Do you have to set?
Yes, this should be 2.
1 through 14.
Mm-hmm. So you would change this to 2 for the length and then the valid numbers. Okay. In terms of
Can it capture decimals? Or like
no, because there's no way to enter the decimal dot. So you would probably use an input field for an input step for capturing the first part of the number, and then another for the. Or you could use something like an instruction that says enter the full number with 2 decimals. For example, enter 100 for 1.00, or enter 1.50 for 1 and 50 cents, or something like that.
So you can ask for a different unit of measure. You can ask in grams rather than kilograms for people to interpret the decimals.
If this is a long number, like, I don't know, a credit card number or an ID number or a badge number, you gave like an identification to people and you want them to enter that, you have 2 choices in terms of how they indicate that they already entered. Either you fix the length here and say, okay, these are 4 digits, so once they reach the 4th digit, they will finish and they will move to the next step. Or you tell them to press pound or some other key after they finish the enter. You need to tell them in the instructions to do this, because Verboice will not tell them that they can finish entering the number with the pound. So whatever you use there, make sure that you record that on the instructions so they know that they can stop with that. Okay?
So the finish key will pass even, for example, can identify that it's from 1 to 4. Okay, so if it was 12 digits, it's not yet, it will ignore that we entered that we want 4, and it will only look for that sharp to finish.
No, anything that happens first will stop the input. So for example, if I put 12 here and the person types 4 digits and then a pound, it will only record those 4 digits.
Yeah.
If I put 4 here and I don't even tell them to press a pound, when they reach to 4, they will move to the next step. They don't need to put the pound, okay? So you usually use the pound when you have a range of lengths that are valid. If you have a fixed number and it's 10 digits, you don't need the pound. You just wait until the 10th digits and you will have something like from 10 to 10, okay? So you know, Verboice knows that it has to wait for 10 digits. 1 is not good, 2 is not good, 11 is not good. So you don't need the pound here because Verboice will just wait until the 10th digits come and accept that, okay? But if you want something, a number between, I don't know, 10 and 10 digits, because it's a variable length, then it's good to indicate, well, it's not only good, it's necessary to indicate the finish key, because otherwise they will enter the 3 or 4 digits and Verboice will keep waiting because it doesn't know if more digits are coming, okay? Does that make sense? So, somebody asked, like, what was that store this result as? If I'm capturing data here, if I'm capturing a number and I don't do anything different like I was doing in the menu, you would ask, like, why are we asking a number if we're not going to do anything different? You can store this value for later, and we will see what you can do with that. But the most simple thing that you can do is to just give it a name and say, I don't know, number of meals or something like that. Number of meals. I think you can, meals. And you might want to use dash or something to split it, okay? This is something that Verboice will store after the phone call. So when the phone call finished, you will have that information available. You will know that the last time this person called, they entered, like, I don't know, 5 on that option. Okay, so it's data that you're capturing. Does that make sense?
I think it's worth mentioning that that's linked to the phone number itself.
Yeah, so it'll be associated with the phone number that was calling when that option was entered. So this is something that I was trying to explain before in the address book. So let's go ahead and let's click on save here on the general save. And let's go to the phone book. So in the Phonebook, we don't have any numbers registered yet, but you will see that there's a column here that says number of meals. So this is the new value that we just created. Okay, so Verboice knows that people calling in these projects might have a value for that thing if they were called from that call flow, or if they called in to that call flow. Okay, so you start keeping like your agenda of beneficiaries with all the things that you asked across different call flows, and this will have one column for each thing that you wanted to save, store as, regardless of which call flow. You will have a new column there, so you can start building like your own internal database of answers. Some answers might make sense only in the context of that phone call. If you're asking like number of meals, maybe you don't want to assume that that's always going to be like that. But if it's the age or the ID, it sometimes comes in handy to keep it associated with the phone number, because next time that person calls or you're calling that person, you already have that information. So we will see how to use that information in a second. We can do the same for menu. If we go to menu here, and let's say that we want to offer this person next time the same meal that he ordered, you will see that you also can store the result of their choice. Okay. So if you store, for example, let's store this result as food choice, and then we can go to the sauce choice menu and store that as sauce choice. Okay. If you click on save and you go to the Phonebook, you see that you have all of the new columns. Okay, so now I have the number of meals, the food choice, and the sauce choice.
Okay,
Different columns.
Every
Every time somebody calls or I call that a different phone number, you will have all of the columns built in. If the person reached that stage, right? Because if they went through chicken, for example, they would have an empty sauce choice here. Okay, or if they hung up the call before reaching that. But for every phone call you make with Verboice, you have a registration of all of the steps that the user went through with everything they choose and they selected and they enter. Even if you didn't store it as a result. So, okay, so you choose to store it because you want to have it accessible in the address book. That's something that you want to associate with that account, with that phone number. Okay. So let's have let me show you how that works to get a sense of how you can use that information. So let's click on pasta, and let's click on the plus sign after pasta. Okay, so we will insert an option between pasta and the sauce choice. Okay, and let's create another input there. So we will name it vegetarian here, and let's type in the text to speech box, let's type, are you vegetarian? Okay. All right. Sorry. And let's add press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Okay, so we're creating an input there after the pasta. Every time I fly, I'm always asked whether I want to order chicken or pasta. I want to say that I'm vegetarian, so they just give me the pasta. Okay, so we will add another option after pasta to confirm whether the person is choosing pasta because he's vegetarian or he's choosing pasta because he likes to eat pasta that day. So 1 for yes, 2 for no. Okay, we will save this. We will use the validation here, so we want only an input length from 1 to 1, sorry, not 2. So we will leave that as it is, and we will enter 1, comma 2 there. Those are the only valid values. We don't want somebody to enter 3 because we wouldn't know what that means. And then we will store this result as vegetarian. Okay, vegetarian. All right. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. Okay, so let's say once again, so we don't lose anything. It's good to get used to save pretty often. And now what we want to do is think about this is something that we use regularly with the same people. We call the same people over and over every week to ask them whether they want chicken or pasta. Okay, so if they have indicated they are vegetarians, we don't want to ask them over and over again, do you want chicken or pasta? So it's just give me the pasta and the choice for sauce. So we will click on the hello, and we want to add a new step between the hello and the menu option. So click on the plus sign there. And we will learn how to use a new kind of step, which is branches. Okay, so the branches looks like two different traffic signs indicating different directions. So the branches option allows me to do different things based on existing values. Okay, so that's why we want to be able to store things, because you can see here that this is the second step, so I don't know anything about the user from this phone call. But if the person has called before and I already have information from him, I can use that information from a previous call. And this is under the assumption that one phone number is only used by one person. Sometimes that's not right. Sometimes people share the same phone number across a household, so I cannot assume that the same number is always the same person. But depending on the options and the questions and the survey, you might want to assume that there's some information that you store that you can reuse. Okay. So we will add a branch here, and what I want to do, if based on this condition we will define in a minute, is I want to link. Okay, a link allows me to jump into a specific question. So we said that we wanted to skip all of the chicken and pasta choices, and I want to go directly into the sauce choice. So we are going to select a link here. Okay, and we're going to click on the plus sign. All right. And the link, if you click on link now, that's the link option. You will see that there's an add condition thing. So click on the plus sign for the condition. All right. So the condition that I want to verify here is whether vegetarian, which is one of these options here. So just expand that list there and select vegetarian, is equal to, I will leave that as it is, and the value 1. Okay. So we said press 1 for vegetarian, press 2 for no. So if the person entered 1 and I have that stored as an option, then it means that he indicated before in another phone call that he was a vegetarian. So click on the tick sign there and save this. And now let's click on the link step that we added. Okay, we can name this like is vegetarian, so we know what's going on there. Okay, and we need to indicate where we want to jump. So this is like a bookmark, like a go to, like a jump, like a link to another step. So we can go anywhere we want. These are all of the steps in the menu, so we can jump into any of this. This is another reason why it's good to get used to give these things a name, because if I didn't name any of these, I would just have a list of play, menu, and I wouldn't know where I want to go. So we want to select the sauce choice, all right? We want to skip the pasta. We don't want to ask him again if he's vegetarian, because he already indicated that he's vegetarian. So I want to skip the pasta, the menu. I want to skip the vegetarian question. I want to go straight to the sauce choice. Okay, so I will select that. We can save again. All right. This, every time somebody calls to Verboice, all of the things that I clicked on store, this, as, blah, blah, they will store associated with that phone number. So you will start getting a list in your address book with all of the phone numbers and all of the things that you wanted to store. Okay. So then if that person calls again, you're able to reuse that information. And the conditions can be as complicated as you want. I don't want to go too much into that. Maybe on the advanced session we can drill down a little bit more, but you can add multiple different options, branches, and this is not something that the user will listen to. There's no option, no message, no nothing. The branch is always an internal step where Verboice will check some variables that are stored associated with the address book and do something for that. So it's similar to the menu in the fact that it branches across different options, but it doesn't have any interaction with the user. It's not something that we ask the user to choose. It's something that we check internally based on stored information. Okay? No?
It keeps the statistics about the caller. Is that the...
So think about this way. Every time anybody calls to Verboice or I call from Verboice to somebody, we will store all of the options that that person selected. For example, if I want to store the chicken or pasta choice, I can give it a name here and store it as food choice. I am Nicholas. I called for the first time to this food ordering service, and I select the pasta option. Okay, so my phone number is 123. I will get a record on the address book saying 123, and then the fact that I chose number 2. Okay, so number 2 is pasta. Verboice will store the 2 option inside my address book. So you start building like an agenda of your beneficiaries, of your users, of your clients, depending on what you're doing, with the options that they entered in the last call that they made. Okay. Use it for statistical purposes. You can use it to customize the experience. For example, something else that it's pretty common to store is if you're doing a multilingual language and you're working in a region that has like, I don't know, different dialects. You don't want to try to guess every time you call to a phone number what's the language they speak, okay? So if you start with a question like, do you speak English or Spanish? Next time you call that same number, you can assume that if they were speaking Spanish last time, they will speak Spanish again this time, okay? So you don't have to ask again. So that's why you store information associated with that phone number to be able to evolve based on that, okay? So a typical example of that I was sharing before, this pregnant women line that checks on the progress of the pregnancy. If the women indicated on the last call that they were having, I don't know, bleeding issues, for example, the phone number, the call flow, when it calls again, it will say, last time you mentioned that you were having the symptoms, how are you feeling? So there's a more rich experience with the phone call if you use information that you captured in the past to branch. And for all of those things, you will use the branch. Okay, so the branch option allows you to make decisions on what you want to do with the user, where you want to go, based on the on previous answers. Okay. If the number is not saved and there's nothing entered there, the is vegetarian will not have a 1. So the way I wrote this is vegetarian, if I click here, so I have like vegetarian is equal to 1, right? So that's the condition to go to the link here. Okay. So if the user is a new user or hasn't called before, he will not have a 1 there. So
it will go straight.
So it will exactly. So if you read here, it says if none of the above conditions match, the default is just to skip.
Okay.
So you see the skip here is a line here that just goes to the menu. Yeah. So if I call for the first time, system will check 1, 2, 3. Does he have a 1 in the vegetarian field? No. Okay. It'll just go to the menu and say, do you want chicken or do you want pasta? Okay. So I want to connect a phone number and maybe we can try to call to this. All right, so let's try to do that. There's an internet service called Twilio. So if you go to twilio.com, you will need a credit card and stuff to get new phone numbers, but I want to show you how to do this because this is a very easy way. The bad part about Twilio, well, it's not bad, it's just this is a commercial company, we don't have anything to do with them. They have phone numbers and you can get them online and you can connect them with Verboice. So you can start making phone calls after like 5 minutes of setting this up. They only have phone numbers in developed countries, right? So you will be able to find numbers in everywhere in Europe, North America, etc., Australia, some parts of Asia. You will not find an option here to register a phone number in Somalia or Congo or anywhere like that. So this is a good option to set up something and try it in your offices and see how it works. Then we will see tomorrow how to connect it to a modem and put a local SIM card, etc. Okay, so as I was saying, this is an online commercial service. If you happen to be able to use the Verboice application in the cloud, the one that we provide, because you don't need to store information in country or you don't have that requirement to store in country, and you're lucky enough that you're working in a country where this is supported, so I'm going to show you the list of countries that they have. This is by far the fastest way. You can set up a whole IVR system in like 15 minutes if you are able to use a phone number from here. So you have United States, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Bulgaria, Dominican Republic, France, Germany. So they have quite a few countries. Most are developed countries, so, but who knows? They keep adding countries from time to time, so maybe one day they'll have all. So let's go to, let's see if I have Italy here. So Italy's here. Okay. Good. Okay. Starting with a new account, you will need to put your credit card and stuff. I already have that. That's why it didn't ask me. Then the only other thing that you need to know is how to get to this information. So I went to the Getting Started page and I expanded the Show API Credentials. Okay, so these are two numbers. This is like the user and password of your account. So we want to give this information to Verboice, so Verboice can set up the phone number that you just bought and be able to use it. Okay, so this is the way we give Verboice access to your account. So now we are going to go to channels to set this up. You can do the steps with me, but don't enter the same information. Well, you will not be able to see that information. So you can select Twilio channel. We will give this a name and we will call it WFP training. And I have the account seed and the authorization token. So if you go here, you will see that you have these two values. So I will copy paste this one into this and this other authorization token into this. You have an options there that says call flow for incoming calls. So this means if somebody calls into this phone number, what is the call flow that I want to send that person to? I can use this phone number to make outgoing calls from any call flow that I have in any project, but Verboice needs to know if somebody calls directly to that phone number because I gave them the phone number, where should I send them? Okay, so for incoming calls, I can just leave that open and know the call will not be connected to any call flow, or I can indicate that I want them to go to the food menu. Okay. And then I need to enter the number that I bought. So okay, just copy this number. We didn't record it.
Press 1 for yes. Press 2 for no. Press 1 for tomato. Press 2 for pesto. How many meals do you want to order?
Now you see this. We all have Lucia's phone number here now. This is the number of meals. Food choice, sauce choice, and vegetarian. So those are the things that she entered during the call. So this is the address book. But you also have, if you go to calls, you have a log of all of the phone calls. Okay, so this is the last phone call we made. If I go to view details, I have the step-by-step thing that happened. I have we play the hello at 10:28:37 seconds. We went to branches, there wasn't nothing there, so we just skipped. The menu was press 2, then we played the pasta option. We didn't record that, so nothing referred. Then during the next input, it was press 2, etc., etc. So even if you don't click on the store this as thingy there, you will always get this. So you always have the result of what happened.
I would prefer to have it as an Excel with columns that we can use later.
Yep. So you can download all of the information as a CSV or as an Excel if you want the details of the phone calls, or you can download a more, clean data source from the project inside the address book. So if you go here to the phone book, you can download the phone book as a CSV. So here you will have all of the information that you chose to store. What else? Let's try to do it the other way. So let's assume that we have the phone numbers registered and we want to trigger the calls ourselves. Let me finish recording the audios here so the flow makes more sense. So chicken, let's call this chicken, perfect. We'll bring you some chicken. Okay, so we noticed that we understood the option, and then if pasta, and we can add an option here. Perfect, our pasta is great. I am adding an audio file for tomato and pesto now, so it makes sense for a menu. So I'm going to call this tomato and say you'll get your pasta with tomato sauce, and for this is pesto, and you'll get your pasta with pesto. Okay. Right, so let's try making a phone call, an outgoing phone call right now. So to put out phone calls, you go to the overview tab on the project. You will select the call flow that you want to trigger. Okay, so we are going to select food menu. Then you will select what's the phone number that you want to use. Okay, so we will use the WFP training phone that we just created. You can select a schedule. We'll take a look at what a schedule is on the advanced session. So for now, we'll just leave that open. And the only other thing that we need to indicate is what's the phone number, okay? Alright, so select again the full menu. Let's see if we can make this work.
We have several options for food. Please indicate what you want to order. Press 1 for chicken. Press 2 for pizza. Perfect. Our pasta is great.
You can see.
Are you vegetarian? Press 1 for yes. Press 2 for no. Press 1 for tomato. Press 2 for pesto. You'll get your pesto with tomato sauce. How many meals do you want to order?
So you saw that as soon as the call starts being made from Verboice, you will see it here. If you go to calls, here you have a log of everything that's happening. So you will see that the call is ongoing. It was active now. If I refresh, it'll show as completed. Okay, and again here, if you go to the details, you know exactly what happened step by step. Okay, let's add the goodbye. And I will show you one more step or maybe two, and then we'll wrap up. So number of people, we will add a thank you. Thank you. We'll say thanks for your order. Food is on its way. Right? And then you usually want to add a hang up here. So Verboice knows that you intended to finish the call at this step. It's not super necessary, but it's a good thing to put it there. So you save here. We'll make another try. Again. Anybody else has an Italian phone number that we can enter here? So you can see here there's a queued phone call. So just hang up so we show. Yeah, just hang up so we can see what happens here. Okay. Now you see that this failed as hung up. Okay. And now it's calling you. Okay.
We have several options for food. Please indicate what you want to order. Press 1 for chicken. Press 2 for pizza. Perfect. Our pasta is great. Are you vegetarian? Press 1 for yes. Press 2 for no. Press 1 for tomato. Press 2 for pesto. You'll get your pesto with pesto. How many meals do you want to order? Thanks for your order. It's on its way.
Okay, so you can see now that we have two records here and the different choices. Okay. The reason why the calls were done one after the other is because I didn't indicate a limit here. Okay, so if I Twilio, I think doesn't have any limits on the number of calls that you can do at the same time. So I could put like a 10 here, and that would make 10 phone calls at the same time. You will likely not be using Twilio. You will use a physical modem, hardware piece, and that will have a limit of 3-4 different SIM cards. I don't know the voice groups how many.
2 or 4, depending on the
You can still schedule like 1,000 phone calls, and Verboice will be doing one after the other as soon as they finish.
So I have another question. Right now, this is like an iCloud server, no? Or
It's a cloud server. Yes, it's in the.
if in the case that we have our own server, how to do it? I mean, still we go to this place?
No. This URL is a server that we provide online. If you have your own server, it'll have a different URL, and that will depend on how you're going to set it up. Most of the times, it will not even have a name. It will be like a set of numbers, and it will only work inside the network. The good thing is that users or beneficiaries don't need to go in here. Right? This is something that you use to set up the system. Then they will just call to a phone number. They don't need to access this for anything. Can I introduce one more step? So after the number of people, we'll add a record. So try to follow this and click number of people, press the plus sign after number of people, and let's click record. There's a microphone icon here. So add that one. And there's two messages here. This step is for allowing users to leave a message. Okay, if you want to record a voice message from them and you want to listen to that later, you can use this step. So the explanation is any indication, for example. Okay, so that's the message that we will play before asking them to record. So please tell us if you have any other indications for your meal. And then the confirmation is the message that gets played after the user recorded the message. So, I don't know, something like confirmation. I'm running out of creativity for the names. So, thank you for your message. We'll pass it to the chef. Okay. And then there's a number of seconds that you want to allow them to record. If it's something long, you can increase that. If it's just a short word, you can decrease that. And the same thing for the key that we had for the input. They can press pound to finish the recording, or they can wait for the 10 seconds to go back. So let's click this save and let's see how that message gets recorded. So I'm going to call Lucia again. Think about an indication for the chef that you want to. That's your phone number, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, pesto with pesto.
I would like it cooked with not too much salt, thanks.
Thank you for your message. We'll pass it to the chef next for your order. It's on its way.
Sorry, why does not restore?
No, it didn't. Oh, here it is. Okay.
I would like it cooked with not too much salt, thanks.
So that's it. I think we can go.